Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Dr. Lopkin, interesting things going on in the press this week. It was kind of brewing for a while, wasn't it?
It has been brewing for a while. The battle between the White House and CNN stepped up. The White House pulled Jim Acosta's press credentials, and CNN is suing the White House, the Secret Service. I believe there were a couple of other parties as well over it.
Well, I think it might have been if you saw that press conference, he was over the top. I'm not condoning, banning him or whatever, but he wasn't acting as someone from the press. He was basically trying to grandstand.
I mean, that's pretty much the problem, is that he hasn't been acting as a member of the press for a while. He's been an instigator. He's trying to confront Trump rather than actually asking questions. He's making accusations. He's been argumentative. That's not the job of a reporter. A reporter is to ask questions, report the answers. You want to challenge the person, with more pointed questions? Great. That's your job. But what Acosta was doing was just basically causing fights, not giving any real information. So I
would agree. I think it was doing it. What I actually think also, Dr. Lopkin, love your opinion on this. I think he also got enamored with the spotlight. Like he's been on, late night with Steve Colbert and others, and he became kind of a rock star. And I think it kind of got to his head.
Oh, absolutely. He violated rule number 1 of being a journalist, which is don't be part of the story. He made himself part of the story, and he enjoyed it. He was getting all sorts of publicity. It's absolutely ridiculous. He stopped acting as a member of the press. So I have no problem with the White House pulling his press pass. And quite frankly, since they're the ones that issue it, I'm pretty sure they've got the right to do it.
Yeah, so I think also it goes to a deeper issue. CNN is just, we've talked about this on the show. They've just completely lost their way. It's pathetic.
They really have. At this point, they're pretty much just dependent on being anti-Trump as their identity.
So remember years ago, sorry, go ahead. My fault. Go ahead.
That's not the position that a media organization should play. A media organization, even with some bias, should be basically neutral. And that's just been thrown out today.
Yeah, but also like years ago on the show, maybe time flies, Doctor. Like, it could be 8 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't remember. Longer. I think it was like 8 years ago. Remember, I said at the time you had the great point about it being splintered, liberal, conservative. And I said, I think CNN could really be the benefactor of this because, they're like kind of a neutral arbitrator. I think people might grab it. Remember that discussion?
I do.
They could have been the purveyor of real news, but they just went, I don't know what they did. And also, there was a time 20 years ago, I used to really, when I first moved back to Connecticut, used to love watching CNN. They had great shows, Crossfire, Larry King. It was a really good network. Now it's like, it's unwatchable.
For a long time, CNN was a good news source. And they had their, their sort of dalliance with the left and then moved back to the center, and they were doing well. Honestly, I blame Jeff Zucker. Jeff Zucker is the head of CNN, and he came from NBC. He's ingrained in the Hollywood machine. So, of course, he can't have a network that remains neutral. He has to swing the way Hollywood does, which is to the left. And he ruined CNN's chances.
But how incompetent? I got it. For a little while, you let that slide. You and I, let's just be honest, doing our jobs we currently have could do a better job than him. I could put together a lineup in, I don't know, maybe a couple hours that would be better than what's on now.
Oh, yeah. Well, Zucker is the one who brought NBC's primetime schedule from first place to the basement. I don't understand how he keeps getting hired when he keeps failing so spectacularly.
Well, that's something I actually know about. And what it is, it's a very weird phenomenon. But once you get a certain title, I've seen incompetency all the time. I forgot his name. It was at Home Depot. Then he went to Chrysler. Once you get in that game, you're in the game. So if he gets fired or he leaves CNN, he'll go somewhere else.
Right.
God bless him, but he will. So the other thing that's in the news is Amazon and their move. Maybe you can comment on that, Dr. Locke.
Yeah, Amazon has been looking for a second headquarters. They decided to actually split it into a second and third headquarters, one in Long Island City, New York, and Queens, the other in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., in Virginia. And there's been an uproar about this from the wacko left from New York, going, how dare New York City give Amazon hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks to come to New York. And if you look at the deal, what Amazon is promising is, first of all, 25,000 jobs. We're not talking warehouse jobs. We're talking six-figure income jobs. So right there, you're talking about boosting New York. Then they're complaining about hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks, but Amazon is projected to pay $10 billion in taxes to New York over the next 10 years.
Okay, well, that begs the real question. This Cortez, your prediction, I have my own. Does this star fade because of this nonsense, or does she ascend into the heavens?
I honestly don't know. I think it really depends on which way the Democratic Party swings. If they swing socialist, then this idiot, who quite frankly, I have to tell you, has taken her place at the top of my absolute favorite target list because she's proven to be even stupider than Richard Blumenthal and Rosa DeLauro. But if the Democrats swing, socialist, I think she's actually going to survive this. She's going to be a star. If they've got a brain in their head, they're going to realize she doesn't know her ass from her elbow, and she'll fade away.
Well, the other thing, I wonder if she can't make a running mate to Bernie Sanders.
That's possible.
He's not going away.
He's not going away.
How old is he anyway? 76?
I'm not sure how old he is, but an aide of Hillary Clinton commented this week that she is preparing a 2020 run.
I saw the same thing.
She thinks she's still got a chance.
There was one pundit who thought she did. Do you think she has any chance?
No.
No,
Even the Democrats don't want her anymore. She's a poison pill for them.
Yeah, but how about as a rematch, like the rematch shtick for Trump? Like the rematch, it's like Rocky 2. You think that has saleability?
Does it have saleability? Sure, but it's not going to win her the presidency, and it might cost the Democrats the House.
All right, that's it. So anything else, any observations from the week? The recounts, I don't think that's going to change anything, do you?
No, I don't think the recounts are going to change anything. They've been pretty steady. There's still a few.
Steady.
Yeah, there's still a few more days to go, but I don't think the recounts are going to really budge anything. Republicans are winning some of them. Democrats are winning some of them. I don't think anything's going to change there.
Not with Rick Scott or Santorum?
No, I don't think the Florida ones are going to change at all.
All right, Dr. Lopka, a little slower than usual on the news items, but still another great edition of Carnivore Bites. I'll see you again.
See you then.
You've been listening to Carnivore Radio's podcast. You can catch us here every week. Carnivore Radio is part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can listen to the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/Xvadio. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can listen to us live every Friday at 4 o'clock on WESU 88.1 Middletown, Connecticut. You can also catch us online at WESUFM.org. We look forward to hearing from you, and see you next week.